Hey again, guys. It's Licia coming to you from Apalachicola, Florida, and where Peter and I have installed an exhibit of our art called Art and Technology, The Divine Marriage. And I wanted to just show you something I discovered as I was strolling in this beautiful, historic fishing village on this gorgeous day about the early history, the prehistory actually, of Apalachicola. There's a park here, a different one than the Lafayette Park where I was before, where there's a plaque. There's not a whole lot going on in terms of this park, but it's still very sweet. It's the Apalachicola Bay Avenue Park. So I guess we're on Bay Avenue. But there's a plaque here that describes Apalachicola as one of the most historic cities in Florida. And I'll just read this to you. Located where Apalachicola River meets Apalachicola Bay, which I was explaining earlier in my earlier video, Stroll. The name Apalachicola is actually a Native American word, interpreted as a ridge of earth produced by sweeping the ground in preparation for council or peace. A peace fire. Here's the part that I'm reading right now. Over time, the term has been translated as an area of peaceful people or people on the other side. Land of the friendly people is a common interpretation of the word. According to this, even before the city was founded, which was in the early 1800s, the area surrounding Apalachicola was an important center of Native American history. Remnants of the cultures here date back to the Middle Archaic period, so 2000 BC, and documentation exists that claims that the native cultures have lived here during the intervening woodland and Mississippian periods. I think that's talking about times when the seawater level has risen and receded. Archaeologists estimate that the population could have reached 40,000 people, attracted to the area due to the stable water supply and abundant game. Absolutely. Here's a little map of some of the language families that were spoken in the southeast. They include my language, my father's family, the Algonquian and Powhatan languages, but that's further north, up in North Carolina and Virginia, so I'm not seeing that so much here in terms of being represented on the map. Interesting. The town itself, I guess, the town itself was not formed officially until it looks like the 1820s, when Florida was gained by the U.S. from the Spanish. Yeah, Spain ceded Florida to the United States in 1821. In 1828, the town was named Cotton Town and incorporated as West Point, and later renamed Apalachicola in 1831. Interesting. It's always interesting to me to be here enjoying, a beautiful place, and seeing the abundant, fancy houses on the water, and just the abundance of Western culture in general, and think about the native populations that were here before the Europeans came along, and always have mixed feelings about that. Well, I have to say I have stronger feelings along the lines of sympathy for those early people, having ancestry. I'm supposedly a 16th Algonquian, having an ancestry where there's no record of the songs and the spiritual traditions, and I have had to dig that up from cell memory, from genetic memory, and so it's there's such loss, so much covered up in our culture, and on top of what the land will remind us about. And I'm getting into the stuff that I write about in I Am Her Daughter, so that's one of those things that Juicy Sacred Living attempts to bridge, is how we've forgotten to see the land as sacred, and that when we come back into the depth of connection with the land, we do sense its sacredness, and we also sense how much memory it holds. So, oh gosh, I have to show you this. This is beautiful. There's so much to learn and see from the land, if we are just willing, just even go and stand on a little plot of land that looks just like, some nondescript little place, and it'll tell you things. It'll reveal memory to you, because land does have memory, just as water does. And again, this is this is material from I'm Her Daughter. If you're interested, I have an I'm Her Daughter Facebook page devoted to the book, as well as a study group on Facebook. But it kind of transcends this conversation that we're, there's a really hot conversation about culture and race and labels and what we belong to, and not going outside of that label, or not, saying, for some people it's even taboo to say, well, my ancestors were, such and such, and therefore that's part of me and who I am too. Some people say that's even, rude, socially unacceptable to say, and I understand logically that there's some socially, there's some hot buttons about cultural misappropriation, and that makes sense to me. But how far back where's the limit? At what point do you say, well, okay, 7 generations back, that's the cutoff point. So I can't claim anything that was before, 7 generations ago. And we know from neurosciences, we know from genetic sciences that the ancestral memory transcends time. That we can, that we can have, oh dear, looks like there's a little dog confrontation up here. Anyway, that, sorry, I just want to make sure I'm not going to be running into some fighting dogs. That memory, ancestral memory, is lasting, and it's how we can have a sense of coming from the stars, how it's possible that even if it was billions of years of evolution, that we can actually have some sense of longing to go home by looking up. That's old ancestral memory, and that's DNA. That's genetic. That's elemental. It's neural. Again, something I write about, and I'm Her Daughter. So I don't get the part about. Hi there. How are you? Looks like you had a narrow escape there. No.
They're in an invisible.
Oh, okay, good. I was like, ooh. Good. Phew, that was the dog owner. No, just at what point do we stop getting offended by having a common ancestry. At what point do we honor our ancestors, no matter how many generations back they were? And I don't mean to culturally appropriate. I don't mean that, but to go where your body tells you to go and to honor what your body tells you to honor is a lost art. And that's actually a feminine art. And it's one that, Great Mother teaches. If you are interested in the Great Mother, you understand that she tells us that the body and the waters and the earth talk to us all the time and ask to be acknowledged, ask to be seen and heard, and it's not like some weird mystical thing. It's simply it's simply the elements asking for the elements inside of us to be unified, to come home. So I don't know, all this politically correct stuff, I get it. There's a place for it, but I think sometimes it gets so out of balance that people lose contact with common sense and older intelligence than our intellect. I think sometimes we're in our heads way too much. So I got to show you this. This is the marina. Here we have the Apalachicola Marina. We were down here walking yesterday, Peter and I. There's another historic marker. But look at this, isn't this so cute? And there's the causeway I mentioned earlier. So look, we've walked a little ways. I think I'll take you out here down the marina. Here's a boat, a houseboat called La Petite Bohème, named after the opera, I presume. Look, it's rich grassland here, marshland. Woo! We have all kinds of boats here. Some fishing boats, some sailboats. Looks like another couple of houseboats here. That's a pretty clever way to have a place to live that you don't need to worry about the sea level rising. You don't need to worry about real estate being covered up with water. How awesome is that? So here I am taking you on another stroll and showing you that. That is a houseboat. It's really a house and it's really a boat. Check that out, man. With a porch and a deck and oh my God, is that brilliant? That is so awesome. Wow. So cool. Look, there's another one over there. Another one over there. There's a bunch of houseboats over here. I wonder why this area is a hot spot for houseboats. I'll ask that question later. There's a nice little sailing vessel. Sailing rig. Good old fishing boat called Lady Grace. I like that. I like Lady Grace too. Oh my gosh, this morning we're staying in a house that some very kind art patrons donate for visiting artists, for the artist residencies. And I was writing this morning and the doorbell rings, and nobody knows where we are except the wonderful coordinator who brought us here. And so I went, and there are these two ladies standing outside the door, and they're church ladies wanting to give me the word of God asking me if I believe the Bible and all this stuff, and shoving these papers into my hand, pamphlets and stuff. And in the meantime, Alex, our cat, he's trying to get out, so I'm like keeping the door, really small, because it felt like they were going to just like barge in the door. I don't know if this happens in other parts of the country, but I'll tell you what, it happens in the South. Boy, that's a fancy fishing boat. It happens in the South with some regularity, where people actually knock on your door to give you the word of Jesus. It's like, I love that you believe it and it rocks your world, but don't be knocking on my house door to tell me that I need to be believing the way you do. This is kind of rude in my mind. Anyway, look at this awesome spot. So we get to see the causeway even closer. That's the road that goes into Apalachicola there. The village is actually right over there at the end of the bridge. It's a pretty awesome causeway, actually. It's high enough that boats can get underneath it. And there's less impact on the because the cars are so much higher. So we're not getting as much of a disturbance to the water below. I think that is sound logic. Oh, is that an alligator? I'm not sure if it's an alligator or a drop. Anyway, check this out. Another cool viewpoint of the bay. How lovely. Isn't it gorgeous? That's where we came from, right that way. There's a little guiding light there and a buoy. And there's a little sand spit. I don't think that qualifies as an island because it looks like it gets covered up, at least partially. It might be just a little mini island, teeny weeny island. Isn't this awesome though? Just gorgeous. Beautiful day in the panhandle of Florida, in Apalachicola, that gorgeous Apalachicola Bay, and beyond that, the Gulf. Look at the sky, so beautiful. What a gift, right? What a gift to be in this place, to be on this earth, to be alive. What a gift to be alive. So, now that we're in the shade, I can actually take my hat off, and I hope that my hair is not an absolute shameful mess. But anyway, so I'm going to turn so you can actually see the water here. Yeah, that's better. That's better. You can see. So how do I want to conclude this short little talk? I started with the Native Americans, started with the land's memory, started with talking about the water's memory. That would be a good place to go. Let me say a little more about water memory. So there are now actually scientific studies that show that water has memory, and that any place that water has touched, anything that water has touched, is carried from place to place, because waters, of course, unite, all the land masses in the world, and that therefore elements, molecules, atoms are transferred from place to place as a result of the water's movement, which is similar to how our blood works in our body. And blood, is one of the waters in our body. And I've been doing quite a bit of studying recently on Asian medicine. I actually started studying that in the late 90s, early 2000s, because acupuncture was just such a profound, healing modality for me. My body just loves acupuncture. And meridians, of course, are about chi flow, which is an energy unit of measurement, energy flow. you ever have that experience when you're on the beach in the water? It may be that there's some memory in the water that's talking to the water in your body, you know, to the molecules and the elements in your body that harken back to some place that maybe you even have ancestry, you know, and then the water's talking to you. I had this crazy experience one time in Puerto Rico. It was my only time that I'd been there, and I got in the Caribbean. It was, you know, chest high in this beautiful clear water, and it was just, you know, oh, it was so beautiful and relaxing. And but then all of a sudden I started feeling and almost hearing, but not like with my ears, but probably internal hearing, the sound of drums and song, and I sort of surrendered to it. I think because I was on vacation, I was really relaxed. I kind of surrendered to it, and it was tribal. It I think Pacific. I don't know how that could be. I mean, I guess I do. You know, the water moves around, so Pacific water becomes Caribbean water, becomes Atlantic water. You know, the waters move around. So, but it was almost transportive. I could feel the vibration. I could feel the memory in the water of this culture, and you know, it was, I think, maybe my first most conscious, you know, experience of the memory of water. Was very interesting. Yeah. So yet another opportunity to see the water is sacred because it carries memory. So let's take care of the waters, you guys. Let's take care of the waters on this earth. I think that's all for now. Lots of love, everybody. Licia Berry signing off from Juicy Sacred Living. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.